to proceed. I can just stop there. There's nothing stopping me. Carl.
Why?
Why is there an enormous warning on screen, you dumbass? Remove it!
Continue. Yeah, but I don't want to disable my ad back.
Well, just set up a proper one like I do that they don't detect. Silly Kyle.
Oh, there's a pass barge.
Kyle's boomerism aside, hello chat.
I don't want to hear that boomer boy. You're the boomer of our friend group. I will not be called boomer boy. Mister, I have to hold your hand whenever it comes to technology. Kib, barge ode. Oh god, here we go. Have you tried turning it off and on again? And you're like, oh. You know, his back. He complains about it now. He's very wrinkly.
Hola.
He's attempting to segue out of this, but you can't, boomer boy.
I already have.
You failed.
We are not going to talk too much about this particular thing today because, well, we do mostly cover gaming culture on this channel, which can be a rather broad topic, but this one is difficult to force into that category, yet nevertheless. It is such a retarded story that
listen,
it has to be mentioned.
It is a game. It's just a really dumb game that some people play.
Oh, it's a game, all right. Though I don't think it has anything to do with basketball, mind you.
No, I don't think it has anything whatsoever to do with basketball.
I'm sure you've all seen this by now. I think pretty much every commentator has covered it, and Twitter was alive with it. The news shut up about it, amusingly enough, but, you know, such is life. The Brittney Griner controversy. Now, I don't even know who the hell this is, because I am a human being, and I don't watch women's sports.
I mean, fair enough.
And that's where I'm going to leave that, because that's just a natural fucking statement, frankly. It doesn't need expanding upon. But apparently, she was very good at put ball in basket. Ball. There you go. And she tried to get into Russia with... What was it? Like, what was it? Was it some... What's the English word for it?
Not gonna help you. Come on, you can do it, boomer boy. Let's go.
Because you don't even know what it was. What was the name of the drug? Because it was like something oil-related thing in an inhaler or something. And she decided to bring this with her to Russia, which turned out to be a very poor idea as things turned out.
How long has she been in jail?
A little under a year. She was detained in February, I believe, this year.
Okay. So
I also like that the only hashish oil, there you go, yes. And her only defense, and that of the US State Department, was that she had been wrongly detained. With the problem, of course, being that they found the drugs on her, so clearly she wasn't wrongly detained. She was, in fact, remarkably accurately detained. But oh well, details. And she was freed very, very recently over a Marine, by the way, who has been in Russian jail now for 4 years because, you know, he was white and she wasn't. So there you go. Such is life.
These things happen.
So things happen. And the best part is, of course, who they traded her for. Because if Biden had simply managed to get her released, then great. That's a big win, you know. He managed to get an American citizen out of Russian jail. And apparently the jail she was in was a particularly nasty one, too. So there you go. I'm sure she had an unenviable time at best. And the punishment for, you know, a few grams of hashish oil is probably... not quite in line with the crime in this case, I will admit.
Well, yeah, it's a bit of an authoritarian hellhole, but what can you do?
Yes, but it's, of course, who she was traded for. That's the big deal here. As I sent you another article. Viktor Bout, one of the largest, or in fact, I think the largest arms dealer ever actually arrested. And they only managed to get him through what was essentially an illegal operation, too. I've seen some articles going like, Viktor Bout's not that bad. He got the mandatory minimum sentence, so clearly he wasn't a bad guy. The reason he got the mandated minimum is because he wasn't actually legally arrested. That's the problem. He was captured in a sting operation where it was a pair of, I think, FBI agents or something, FBI CIA or something, who literally asked him if they could buy illegal weapons from him. Now, we call that entrapment, but hey, details.
That's a bit weird. And so that's how they got him.
Oh yeah, it's not weird at all. Like they knew he was running guns, but they couldn't prove it. That's the thing. And there are many cases of this where there is actually genuine case for this being the issue, right? This guy was almost certainly a actual gun runner. There's one instance, for example, where he was hired to move a case for destruction, AK-47s for destruction in some African country. So he picked up 200,000 of these rifles, and when he arrived in his destination, not a single rifle remained on the plane. Instead, all of it had been relabeled as farming equipment.
Yep. This is the same guy from the story for Lord of War, whatever the fuck it was called?
Yes. The Nicolas Cage movie, Lord of War, is loosely based on the accusations leveled against this guy.
That's a good movie, but that's interesting.
It's a very good movie. It's no kind of documentary, by the way. It's loosely based on, in the same way that Pablo Schreiber, the TV series, is based on Halo.
Mm-hmm. Well, so releasing this guy was a horrific idea, because like releasing a literal agitator back into the world who's going to just go back to doing what he does, being a criminal.
And the best part is, of course, in the article I sent to you there, freed Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout says he wholeheartedly supports Ukraine war and would volunteer if he could. So Russia is currently in a situation where they can't get enough weapons. They are in desperate lack of winter uniforms and everything else, and they are being cut off from the international chips market to create their modern tanks and guided missiles. And America just gave them the person who might be able to get Russia all of those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a game that these people play, and they're interested in playing this game. So that's part of the problem, is the people in charge on either side don't actually want peace. Because conflict is good for business. You can money launder, you can all do all sorts of horrific things with conflict. And the Ukrainian war presents itself as a perfect opportunity for the Russians and the various powers that be on our side of the fence too to do all sorts of nasty shit. The victims are, of course, the Ukrainian people.
Yep. Also, by the way, incidentally, chat, sorry for starting a bit early, but we're going to try and wrap up on time today because we wanted to play some Anno. And Kyle's like, Arch, you're choking my streaming career. I'm like, I'm sorry.
That's not at all what's happening.
I'm making up for it now, though.
Bad March. Get the spritz bottle, chat.
The thing is, of course, if I'm going to be a bit conspiratorial here, the FTX scandal occurred weeks ago where it seems like a great deal of governmental funds has been funneled into Ukraine and then just simply disappeared. And everyone, like even the defenders are like, yeah, we don't know where the money went, but hey, you don't have any evidence it went back to the Democratic Party, so okay, there you go. But, of course, if the war ends, it's going to be damn difficult to launder all of that money. And then they just happen to release one of the best arms dealer in the world back to Russia.
Yep, that's not
like
good.
I said,
again, this
game has nothing to do with basketball.
Yep, there's a big boy game going on right now, and that's unfortunate. But it's unfortunate for everyone else caught in between. But, yeah, it's interesting. Because there's certainly a game being played, and the people are being had.
Yep. No, this was just deeply hilarious to me. And if you can go back to the other article I sent you, the first one, I also love this, though, because Brittney Griner... Okay, so a lot of people have been going on Brittney Griner's anti-American, right? And I think that's slightly overblown, because the only thing she really said was that she believed that the national anthem shouldn't be played at games, which is hardly patriotic, and her reasons for it are the exact reasons that you can imagine, because it's anti-black, etc., blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But that was the only time she'd done it, so I'm like, okay, she might just be a retard as well, rather than an activist, who knows? But then you get out to articles like this. Brittney Griner is finally freed, but her peril is that of a black woman in America. Ah, yes. It's not that she, flew to Russia with hash oil in her bag or anything and got arrested by the Russian authorities and sent to a penal colony, because they still have those in Russia. No. It's being black in America that's the real danger here.
That's retarded, but yeah. Yeah, no, isn't that funny? You have America, which is actually a pretty decent place, all things considered. And people forget, both on the left and the right, how easy we have it in the West. It does not take much if you look over at Russia to see how truly horrific things are for actual authoritarian hellholes, like Russia or China, where real oppression exists. We have some bad stuff, but it pales in comparison to these actual authoritarian hellholes.
Oh, it's retarded. And the entire gist of the article... Go back to it. Bad cops.
Boop. Listen, there's many articles. There's two. This is hard to keep track of. Yeah, exactly. What's more than one?
And this guy's entire argument is basically that the only reason she went to Russia is because she wasn't paid enough in America. So she had to play off-season games in other countries.
Oh my god.
That's the reason. She's only being paid about $100,000 a year, Kyle.
That could run the studio and then some.
Excuse me, actually. Griner made $221,450 a year. Like, I don't know how you could possibly survive on that. Like, that's fucking... that's nothing. Like,
well,
how could you live?
I can tell you.
How could you live on that?
Sadly, it's very simple. These fuckers, all these rich fuckers, are like, they're like, I gotta maintain my, several yachts that I use once a year. It's like, for fuck's sake. For fuck's sake. Okay, maybe not several yachts, because that's not enough for that amount. But still, rich people have a tendency to just spend money like it's fucking candy. And they often become poor the fastest, especially these celebrity types, because they don't know how to manage their money at all. Anytime they fall in hard times. Like, that's the interesting factor, especially actors and stuff. Anytime they fall into a hard time, like, they tank quickly. And it's like, what did you do with all that money? They spent it all on absurd luxury items and things that they couldn't really afford. That they were even overspending then. And so they have to keep the gravy train flowing.
Absolutely. So this isn't her being underpaid. This is her overspending. And the entire argument relies on, of course, that, this is just a tiny percentage of the average salary of an NBA player, not a WNBA, NBA, the men's sport.
Mm-hmm.
But they get paid way less. That's unfair, isn't it? That's unfair, right, Kyle? That's unfair.
We've had this conversation before with artists. Like, an artist is only worth as much money as people are willing to pay for them. In the same case for sports players. There's a demand for one group of sports players, and there simply isn't the demand to justify the cost and the pay that she wants for what she's doing. Find a different career then. Go look somewhere else. Because that's not going to get you that. It's like trying to work at fucking Burger King or McDonald's and be like, God, I really suck shit. I can't make, like, 6 figures over here. I don't really get it.
And chat is commenting, 221k a year. I mean, that's why she's so thin. Barely enough money to buy food. I agree. Like, I couldn't live on just a couple million kroners a year.
Oh, God.
But here's the thing, too. Okay. The supply and demand argument is exactly correct. Because here's the thing. The entirety of the Women's National Basketball Association, the entirety of the WNBA, generated about $60 million in revenue. Not even profits, in revenue in 2022. The average NBA team, not the league, not the entire league, a team within the league is worth $2.86 billion.
Yep. They have significantly greater value. And it's just because it's simple demand.
It's not even a comparison.
Like, this is a simple fact back to biology, which always upsets people. Men and women are physically different. Men can do things that women cannot do, and they're sometimes better at certain things than other, the other compatriot or the other part. And so males have a tendency to be much stronger and much faster and much more resilient at these kinds of high physical activities, and people want to watch the super tough dudes do the super hard stuff. It's gonna be more appealing than watching somebody who's not nearly as skilled, It's gonna be like, oh, it's like watching the Little League, like me.
And the numbers bear that out. The entirety of the Women's National Basketball Association is not worth a fraction of a single team in the NBA. She's being paid $200,000 a year because that's all she's worth in that branch. And if she wants to be paid more, and again, do you need to be made more? This is like that voice actors going they only offered me a year's salary for 5 minutes. I don't understand these greedy companies.
Yep. It's
a joke.
And
again, they released this woman in return for a man who had literally, when the FBI launched a sting operation against Viktor Bout, they were like, okay, we need everything you can give us. And he's just like, okay, so how many millions of dollars are we talking here?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, no, there's some sort of bullshit game going on between these politicians. And we definitely don't see what it is they're dealing with and what chips they're playing at all. We have no clue.
I recognize the old saying, never attribute to malice what can equally well be explained with sheer bloody-minded incompetence. But this is a level of incompetence beyond that. This can't be explained by sheer idiocy. This is an agenda.
Yep. There's a bigger scheme here.
Absolutely. It's retarded. But on to the actual topic of today. I'll send you the next thing here. The Twitter files, because these have been very, very interesting. And perhaps what's been more interesting is the mainstream media's reaction to the Twitter files. As I've sent you one article here from the Intelligencer. The Twitter files is what it claims to expose. So this article's argument is all Twitter was incredibly corrupt and was using its power for political gains. And now by revealing that, Elon Musk is also using Twitter for political gains, because revealing that the left has been abusing its power for years is benefiting the right.
Well, yes, it is. Man, what are you going to do about it?
It's such a brilliant argument. It's these things are the same. One was actively censoring, and now that you're revealing the fact that they're censoring, you're basically doing the same thing. Okay.
See, this is an example of a two-party system kind of doing something positive for a change. Look at that. The other party lies and cheats, so the other party points out that they're lying and cheating to the other party. It's the back and forth argument.
These sides are not equal. The person pointing out, hey, you're cheating, is not the moral equivalent of the cheater.
Mm-hmm. It's so fucking stupid. Hey, it's you did that horrific war crime. You did that horrific thing where he censored people and beat them up and locked them up in jail. Yeah, but you pointed it out, so you're taking advantage of the thing I did. It's oh, what? No. Exactly. So you're profiting. You're profiting from the horrible war crimes I committed. It's like if the Nazis were able to argue well, yeah, you guys used the medical knowledge we got from experimenting on Jews. That makes you responsible. It's no. No. Oh my god.
It's so dumb. And every mainstream media outlet is trying to run defense for this now, and it's brilliant. I'll send you another article here from Wired. Elon Musk's Twitter files are a feast for conspiracy theories, with the Q icon there. It's a feast for conspiracy theories. Hold on.
Conspiracies?
We're having every single one of our conspiracies Confirmed. At what point do we stop being conspiracy theorists exactly?
We don't. But, well, actually, no, we do stop being conspiracy theorists because we were just, simply pointing out what was obvious all along.
I love this line of thinking. It's like, the conspiracy theorists might take this and run with it. Yeah, but they were right, though.
Yep. And, I honestly, it's kind of funny watching them try to spin this because they can't. And it shows because all they're doing is like, you're bad because you profited from the horrible things we did. It's like, okay. Like, this is some serious cope. This is some reaching going on here. We got some, 180-degree turns. Oh, it's sad.
I genuinely adore it. Like, it is quite funny to see the establishment try to twist itself into a knot to explain how this is not a problem, whilst also trying to turn it into some kind of a win. I think the best one I've seen, so there's many of these, and the most usual one is saying that, okay, the first set of tweets about the Hunter laptop thing, that didn't prove anything, because you see, the Hunter Biden laptop was, fake and shit. Like, okay, all right. Let us say here for a moment that Trump personally made the Hunter Biden laptop, right? He wrote every file on it. He made thousands of fake emails. He was just typing away with his little pudgy orange fingers, and he made all of it. Then he delivered it personally, in person, to the repair shop, and he gave him $100 and hey, say this is from Hunter Biden. They'll understand.
Yep.
Even if this was the case, the fact remains that Twitter censored it. And that is the point. It isn't the laptop itself. It is that it was censored during an election, and it probably affected the course of that election. Now, we're on YouTube right now, so we've got to be a bit careful about how we word this, just to hammer home the point. But still, that is the problem. If the same had happened on the other way around, oh god, this argument is old as time at this point, but it's still valid. If the right had suppressed the piss dossier, the social media had suppressed the piss dossier, there would have been outrage about it. But they didn't, because it was not from the left. Simple as.
Mm-hmm. Listen, we don't play a fair game here. You know that. We've known that for a long time. It's not about fairness. It's about winning, and that's all they care about. And they don't care how they're gonna go about doing it. Morality isn't a concept to them.
In the eternal word of that clip that Dev uses every single video, my principle is to win as a socialist. Principled failure is worthless.
It's doesn't matter if I have to, break a few necks along the journey and all the horrific things we have to do to get there. We're going to do it anyways, no matter how many lives it ruins, because that's what it takes to win. And it's not about being right, it's about winning. At least
and speaking of ruining lives, I sent you the third, I believe now. No, this is the second part of the Twitter files right here.
Mm-hmm. Let's open it up.
So this was released by Barry Weiss, who is, a journalist. Let's not hold that too much against her, but still.
Oof. Bit of an L there.
Absolutely. Who shows us Twitter's back end. So you can scroll a little bit down there, and you'll see Twitter's back end, where you see, their... what is it? The notification spike, search blacklists, not safe for work view, do not amplify, etc., etc. And this was actually made earlier. We got screenshots like this, I think a year or a couple of years ago, that was alleging to be Twitter's back end, showing how they were shadow banning people. And at the time, the entirety of the left was like, no, that doesn't happen, it's gaslighting, it's lies. We even had congressional hearings about this, as you can remember, where Jack Dorsey explained that no, Twitter never does this, of course not. And, well, here is the literally exact same back end.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because they have access to it, so they can actually leak pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, but what's kind of tragic is a part of you always kind of wishes that no, it's not really going on, but when it's when it's right there in front of you, you just simply have to accept it. They did do it.
It is absolutely confirmed now. If you scroll down to about tweet number 16 and you open the picture there for the libs of TikTok one, you'll also see that this stuff is somehow it's coded into the current Twitter system. Because libs of TikTok asked, like, these screenshots are current. Because you can see the last access there, 2022, 1207. So this thing is still up. Like, the shadow banning is still active for many accounts. And Elon was like, yeah, we're looking into fixing it. Because apparently this shit is coded into Twitter at this point.
Strike count 2, high profile, multiple accounts, NSFW view, notification spike, trends blacklist, recent abuse strike, high profile, active. And there's a notification at the top, do not take action on user without consulting with SIP piece. I don't know if that's like a new thing, like internally, like don't touch it until we fix it, or if that's just like an old leftover.
That's an old leftover. Sippies was one out of 2 organizations within Twitter that took the moderation decisions. So the basic one was the Strategic Response Team, Global Escalations, SRT GET. I love these names, by the way. They were the ones who were handing out most of the shadow bans. Like, they did 200 cases a day. So the shadow bans for nobodies like us, they came down from these people. And those things weren't permanent. Those have already been more or less removed as far as we can see and from what Elon has told us. But the Sippies, that was the top-level decision-making body on which Jack Dorsey himself was a part. These were the ones who made banning decisions around the large account, and they were the ones who eventually decided to ban Trump as well.
Yep. Okay, well, so I wonder how many... So there's been more fingers. It wasn't just a Twitter op entirely internally done. So there's external companies and corporations meddling in the affairs of the moderation.
Well, yes. In fact, I'll give you the other one here.
And let me guess, these corporations have political ties, don't they?
Oh, not the corporations. This was Twitter's internal organizations.
Oh, these are those are really gay names.
They are.
I thought this was like a separate company set up dedicated to this. Still dumb.
On the topic of externals, I'll send you that one. Should bring you to it, to the photo there, hopefully. And you might have to click it to bring up the photo. But this is Joel Roth, who is the head of Twitter Trust and Safety at the time, writing, "Definitely not meeting with the FBI, I swear."
Wait, let's read through it. It happens. I'm a big believer in calendar transparency, but I reached a certain point where my meetings became very interesting to people, and there weren't meetings names generic enough to cover. Anyway, let me know. Very boring business meeting. That is definitely not about Trump. Winky face. Pretty much. Definitely not meeting with the FBI, I swear. You're meeting with the FBI. Lamau, yeah.
Oh god, this is what actual evil conspiracies look like, by the way. They're not hyper intelligent people in a room or in like a dark room stroking a cat plotting world domination. There's retards like this being like fucking teenagers, like, I'm not meeting with the FBI, dude. You're totally not.
Yep, because the thing is, what people often forget is that they have this illusion that after high school, all that high school drama stuff stops. Now, that's never been the case for humanity. Humanity is a interesting little creature. We like to do weird little petty dramas, and they play out all the time throughout our history. And this is just merely another case of that. That's kind of tragic, but you can see it right there in plain sight.
Mm-hmm. And just in case that wasn't obvious enough, I'm going to send you a second tweet here, which you can open the picture of, where he just actually states that he has to miss the FBI and the DHS meetings. Like, just in case that one wasn't explicit enough, he is actually stating that they were running constant meetings with the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security.
The Department of Homeland Security. Definitely another organization that needs to be disbanded.
Yes.
So many problems, so many organizations from wars that happened ages ago but have no reason to exist, so they have to make up reasons to exist. Instead of foreign enemies and external enemies, you know, from Soviets and communists or Nazis, now the citizens are the enemy and we must attack them. They're our new primary target because we've defeated all the other baddies, so we need to make new ones. Our citizens will do just fine. It's the enemy you know, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I'm half nervous about talking about this on YouTube because, I mean, we have rules against conspiracy theories here, but seeing as we have the literal source in front of us...
This is not a conspiracy theory, this is simply fact at this point.
It seems to be simple, observable reality at this point.
It's irrefutable. Like, here it is, here's the evidence, it's right there. Like, what do you want? It's like saying, like, you know, there's no sun in the sky. It's like, we have a raid from Dev. Welcome aboard, Dev and friends.
Hello, Dev.
Very generous of you to raid us, Dev. We really appreciate it.
Very nice of you. I hope your interview with the Bill Clinton guy went well, by the way.
Was it fun, Dev? Do you have a good time?
You guys should check that out afterwards because that might be very interesting. The dude who stormed walked calmly up on stage at the Video Game Awards and thanked his Jewish rabbi Bill Clinton.
Yep, I checked the guy's Twitter out. He seemed pretty kind of normie, I guess.
Yeah, he just strikes me as some rando who had an idea like, dude, what if I do this? And then he did it.
I mean, there you go. Honestly, when it comes to Breakout, because he has a YouTube channel, if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dev, but, like, if you want to break out content, there you go.
There you go. There you absolutely go, my dude. Continue on with the FBI and the goddamn Department of Homeland Security talking to Twitter. What a fucking sentence to say, by the way.
Yep.
So... In this dump, there is only indications. There's no indication that the FBI were like, hey, suspend Trump or anything like that. There was just a ton of meetings with the head of Twitter security and the DHS, which apparently led to various flags being put up on Trump's account. Flags similar to the ones we just saw earlier. Suppression of reach, trend blacklisting, deboosting, stuff like that. They talk about all of that in this long Twitter thread by Matt Taibbi. So they were trying to limit Trump's Twitter reach as well.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, of course, this led to his removal. And that entire thing about, we hired like an external team of neutral people to help us make this decision. Bullshit. An actual genuine lie. They had made up their minds to yeet him months before the election. They were just looking for an excuse.
Yep. They were.
In fact, there's even mentions of this in the thing. Where was it here? There was one of the conversations in this where they linked to a Republican who were talking about mail-in ballots and how a bunch of ballots had been discarded or something. And the head of Twitter Trust and Safety got a message like, hey, there we go, that's the one. I'll send it to you now. Got a message saying, hey, shouldn't we suspend this? Because these are rigged election, right? That's a violation of the rules, right? And Joel Roth, the head of Twitter Trust and Safety, says, if the claim in fact were accurate, yes. So this is them thinking like, hey, we can suspend Trump for this, right? Except, of course, the claim turns out to have been real, but, oh well.
Yep.
This entire thing is such a retarded thing.
It is. But, I don't think anyone here is remotely surprised at these revelations.
Here we also, by the way, have Nick Pickles of the election approach committee thingy, basically saying that they don't want to call the FBI experts on this because, academics. So they're wondering if they can just call them their partners instead.
Can we just say partnerships?
Yep.
Not sure if we describe the FBI DHS as experts or some NGOs that aren't academic. What kind of fucking fart-sniffing losers? The fucking disgusting arrogance of that. That's kind of great.
Mm-hmm. Now, they're also Matt Taibbi, the guy that Twitter Elon gave access to reveal all of this. They're still working their way through the files, and they've just barely begun on the election-related content. So this is the tip of the fucking iceberg right here, and this is going to have to lead to some pretty big shakeups in the terms of service of many social media platforms, I think. Because, again, currently, it's a terms of service violation to say anything other than that the US election was, of course, entirely perfect and was not affected in any way by any outside force, except Russia, of course. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
And yet now it seems like, well... that terms of service might be a little bit outdated. There's a pinch.
Only a pinch, though, so at least there's that.
Just a little pinch. Just a bit pinch there. And I also wanted to point out, so all of those flag thingies, right, and I'll send you that one again too. All of these flags at the rear end here, I would like to point out a couple one, like recent abuse strike. This came at a time where the libs of TikToks were not actually suspended for anything. And they expand upon this by saying that these accounts would have their own reporting system, where they would tally up strikes against them that weren't reported. They weren't like reports made by normal people or anything. It was simply Twitter themselves saying, oh, hey, we don't like this, but we can't suspend the person for it. So we're going to give them a back-end strike so that we can eventually use this against them to suspend them. And of course, this was also used to deboost them too.
Yep, because they put shackles on them. Which, if I had to be perfectly honest, like we can probably assume that that's already in effect on YouTube and other platforms.
Ah, well, that's the point I was going to move on to, because I'll send you another one here. If you look at this picture, you will see the flag. Recent abuse strike, notification spike, multiple accounts, strike count 0, NSFU, others. But look at the last one there. Do not amplify. I can fucking guarantee you that if there is a do not amplify flag, there's an amplify flag too.
Yep, so they're actively promoting others. Yeah, we know that. We know on YouTube. We always know YouTube had this mysterious algorithm, but I think the algorithm isn't necessarily mysterious anymore. I think it's actually pretty well known. I think the people inside YouTube know it pretty well. I think they, in fact, manipulate it very well in order to boost what they want viewed and what they don't want viewed. And I imagine that we all have these little tickers on our thing. Like anytime Barge comes on and says a naughty word, or anytime I go on his stuff say a naughty word, I'm sure that ticks another box somewhere. And they tick another flag.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And this is on YouTube. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. All of these Silicon Valley platforms, they all talk to each other on the daily. They have lunches with each other. They call each other up. They ask each other for advice, etc. If this is on Twitter, it is on YouTube.
Yep. Silicon Valley is insular. They talk to each other, communicate with each other, and share resources. And most of those people, if you look at their portfolios, they bounce between each of these studios. I would definitely imagine that everywhere it goes, it spreads. Because any new corporation or company that gets started in Silicon Valley, it probably doesn't take long for a few people bounce in and out of them to basically make them all the same in terms of how they're run.
Absolutely. There's also so a lot of people also have been saying that a lot of this is just stuff we already know. And that's true. Or at the very least, it is stuff that we already, quote-unquote, knew. But it's still very important to differentiate the fact that now we don't know. We have evidence. It's black on white. It is not. It is known, Khaleesi. It's no. Literally, fact. Look.
Fact, we have literal evidence and everything to back up and not only confirm it, logs upon logs of conversations that are coming out that confirm it, along with pictures and information that simply just confirms what everybody already kind of knew in the back of the head but secretly hoped that wasn't true, was and is true. And it probably is a much bigger scale than just Twitter.
Yes, precisely, because I sent you another article there, and you're talking about bigger scale. The revelation that we've had so far have already been interfered with. Elon has been saying and hinting that he expects many files to have been straight up deleted by people. The first round of Twitter files around the Hunter Biden laptop, well, they were edited by Twitter's head legal counsel, who was part of making many of the moderation decisions. So this was one of the guys who were actively censoring people. An ex-FBI agent, by the way, just as if this wasn't enough of a Hollywood fucking conspiracy theory already, you know?
Once FBI, always FBI. It's like the KGB thing. Like, once they're in, they're always in. They got the contacts, they got the connections, they still talk. There's no such thing as retired. We know better.
Mm-hmm. And when Elon found out about this, I'll send you the tweet here from Matt Taibbi, the news that Baker was reviewing the Twitter files surprised everyone involved, to say the least. New Twitter chief Elon Musk acted quickly to exit Baker Tuesday. So basically, this guy had no authority to do this. He wasn't supposed to be reading these things, nor did it have anything to do with his job at all. And yet he was reading through it, picking through it, and apparently removing things from it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. So this is okay. So I can kind of envision what happened here. And I think this is pretty accurate. And I think you do too. And I presume chat. But basically what happened is Twitter's buyout thing happened. They panicked. They scramble. They deleted as much stuff as they could. And even with all the time they had to delete stuff, they couldn't cover up all of it. And this is all the stuff that we can see. Now imagine all of the stuff we can't see.
Yes, that's the thing. That's when we start hitting proper conspiracy theory territory, because God only knows what isn't there. Because here's the thing. These people, a lot of them are actual retards. Legitimate fucking retards. But even an idiot has enough sense to try and wipe the fingerprints off the gun.
Mm-hmm. And so they deleted as much as they could find. And we still have all this. So that's pretty horrifying, actually, when you think about how much... Like, imagine how much is really gone. Like, this isn't even the dirtiest stuff, because you know that they internally knew what the worst things were, and like, we need to delete those things first, because if that's out, we're fried. So we got to know what those things were, because if this is just the tip of the iceberg, God... It's quite a big iceberg under that water.
And the question then becomes, like, how much can be recovered? Because the thing is, even if you delete something off your hard drive, it depends on how you do it. Like, there are ways to yeet something so thoroughly that even a data technician can't recover it.
That's true.
Maybe a former FBI agent would know that. Maybe.
Well, best way is just take a giant magnet, run it through it, and then take a hammer and smash the shit out of it.
Yep.
That's the best way to get rid of it if it's on the hard drive. Because what happens is when you delete a file, it runs a bunch of numbers over the top of it and sort of hides it, right? Because everything you delete is still there. You can use data, I forget what they call it. I think they're called data drillers or whatever. I've had to because I accidentally deleted a file that was kind of important to me. And what that does is it goes in there and basically recodes and assembles the file. And sort of also does a little bit of guesswork as to what the file was. It can reassemble images, video, audio, etc. And those are pretty nice tools in case you accidentally delete like a important picture or something off your phone or your camera. You can get those and you can recover your files. I imagine there's much more sophisticated software that you can purchase that probably does even better job than that stuff. But yes, there comes a point where you do so much to a file, like there is decay, if I remember right, in terms of how files work. So even after you've deleted a file, after a certain amount of time, there's only a certain time window you have before that file is going to be so corrupted that you can't piece it together. And that means time that the hard drive's running, and if there's writing new data to that hard drive, if I remember right. Based on what I remember.
Yes. Like there are highly sophisticated data recovery softwares that can recover the most ridiculous things. Like this is often used against like pedos, for example, who the intelligent ones that have all of their sketchy pictures on a drive with a crash button. Even then, they can often recover a lot of the data and actually prove what was on the hard drive beyond reasonable doubt, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they've deleted it, there might still be stuff in the system. Or at the very least, there might be deletion logs in the system saying, oh, hey, the ex-FBI agent entered these files and deleted them right before the purchase. I wonder what were in those.
Yep. Yep, and this is just a primitive understanding, because, like, I only know basic bit shit because I once accidentally deleted a picture, and I had to research, like, how the fuck do you get it back if you accidentally move from a recycling bin? The people that actually know what they're talking about this could they could go on probably a lot better, but that's sort of like a, what do you call it, layman's sort of look at it. That's our best, that's our understanding, chat. We're not super pooper computer technicians.
Oh, you might not be.
Wow, I know you're not, so don't even try. Under the
I'd
bus
also
you
like
go.
to point out one more little thing about our head of Twitter trust and safety here as well, incidentally.
Our head of
his name was Joel Roth, right?
Joel Roth, yep.
Uh-huh.
Oh god, what is Joel Roth a connection to?
Here you go.
Was it Joel or is it Yoel? How do you pronounce that?
Joel Roth. Joel or Joel. I'll send you a tweet.
You sent me a twat. Can high school students ever meaningfully consent to sex with their teachers? Okie dokie.
Every single fucking time.
I like how most of the tweets are from like hours ago. This tweet came from. This is the ironic thing. So no, cancel culture goes both ways, but it's good to see it going the opposite direction once in a while.
Yeah.
2010.
This is an old tweet from Twitter head and safety. It leads to a Salon article that I'm not going to post to Kyle here, which is basically titled "Student-Teacher Sex, When Is It Okay?"
I don't think it's ever okay because the teacher has a certain level of authority over the student that is not justifiable. Like that is a inappropriate relationship. That's like why military people like can't have relationships with each other, like, you know, a female subordinate that's younger or whatever, or vice versa male, because that is inappropriate. You got to be putting your job first, and you aren't doing that when you do that.
Yep. And of course, just to point it out immediately here, this is again Joel Roth. I'll link you to the Twitter file so you can bring up his picture there. You see, it's the same guy, it's the same name, it's the same fucking profile picture, and here's talking about how he wants to implement shadow banning, which Jack is entirely on board with, of course.
Yeah, shadow ban.
So yeah, that whole thing about us being ruled by a shadowy cabal of pedos, as retarded as it is on so many layers, it's like you look at shit like this and you go, right, Twitter, you are... As the previous article says, the Twitter file is indeed a bountiful harvest for conspiracy theorists.
Oh, Jesus. Pretty fucked up. But not at all unsurprising, Zed.
It's difficult to fully wrap one's head around half of this shit. And Elon also, a little while ago, because Jack Dorsey, Sargon has had this idea too, that Jack was kind of riding the dragon, so to say. He had the tiger by the tail, where he knew about the censorship, or at least he suspected it, but he wasn't really involved with it. Like, he'd lost control, essentially.
Oh no,
and
I doubt
he
that.
he didn't really he wasn't malicious. Well, maybe he was. Maybe he was, because now we have multiple confirmations again that he was contacted about censorship tools and that he greenlit it again and again, several times. He was on the committee that handed out shadow bans at the top level.
Yep. Yeah, no. Normally, if it's a person in charge, he has executive privileges and power. It's possible that, people are doing things behind his back, but that is extremely, extremely, extremely bad, if that is had. And that's also ineptitude on the leadership part, on his part. So at worst, it's, negligence of the highest order in that area. But you're in charge. It's your show. You own the business. You tell the people what to do. He greenlit those things, yeah. I don't know why you'd ever think that he was innocent. He's guilty, Bart. You must be cruel. No mercy.
Mm-hmm. And just to bring this back to our previous topic about Joel Roth as well, here's another tweet from Elon stating that it is a crime that they refuse to take action on child exploitation for years, referring to Twitter. Jack Dorsey, the previous owner of Twitter, then pipes in and says that is false. And Elon then says, no, that is actually true. Because when he joined it, Ella Irvin, who now runs Trust and Safety, who was hired to try and deal with child safety issues, she asked again and again for more resources from Ned and Parag Agrawal, the previous CEO. And she was rejected again and again and again and again. They didn't care about CP on Twitter at all. They didn't give a shit about it.
Shared this with Ned, but they rejected the staffing request. I made it top priority immediately. Yeah. So she's like, hey, I was hired to do a job. Where's the personnel I need so I can perform the job I was hired to do? And so they just kept turning down. So they hired her purely to get people to shut up in the public, but actually didn't give her the resources to actually do anything. So she's just a lame duck sitting there with no tools, no resources, no personnel to enforce these issues.
Yes. She was hired as a PR move.
Yep. And so it seems like I don't know, based on that, it doesn't seem like she was quite in the loop with that. Where's my people?
I don't think she had the tools to understand the scale of the problem. She could only look at it and go well, I need people to deal with this, and they didn't allow it. And it's not like Twitter didn't have enough people.
That's
Twitter
true.
was employing 7,500 people before Elon began swinging the scythe. None of these could have been reassigned to deal with something so inconsequential as child porn on Twitter.
The fact that this website even needs 1,000 people is already laughable. This is clearly a case of people are hiring friends and giving people comfy positions. But we already kind of knew that. Large game studios that make complicated video games with complicated mechanics and programming and need art and music and more things than a website ever does are smaller than the fucking dev team that runs Twitter. And not only that, but they ship games in a couple of years' time flat, with a couple hundred people per personnel. They have 7 goddamn thousand people, and they can't even figure out how to make you have more fucking keys or letters to type or have better features, and it was still buggy. So I have a hard time believing that any of those people were actually doing anything at all.
No. Of course they weren't. It's ridiculous. And so we know again that we have the ex-Twitter head of safety talking to the FBI and DHS, making questionable tweets about child exploitation and having sex with your teacher. And
Jesus
that apparently
Christ.
there was no focus on this on the website at all under the previous CEOs. Man, it's all of those weird coinky-dinky-winkies that just keep fucking happening, isn't it?
They had a cozy position because their social media platform took off, and then other people started investing in them and giving them the money to do what they did. But to sit around on their asses and basically thought police people, so that people that were manipulating them could control the masses, the people, censoring what they could see and boosting what they wanted them to see. It all adds up. That's the worst part. And there's evidence to back it up, which even only makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty disgusting. And now that we know Twitter does it, this soft confirms that every other platform, YouTube included, is not only probably doing it, but probably has been doing it for a lot longer, and has been doing it for a very long time.
It's mildly disgusting, frankly.
Yep. There needs to be proper investigations into this, because this is, I think, borderline criminal.
Well,
I think it's over the line, honestly, in my opinion, but, I'm trying to take the milquetoast approach for your channel's sake.
Well, that's the interesting point too, Kyle. Because of course, I'll send you another article here. What was that? That happened a few years ago. I seem to recall some kind of congressional hearings, Kyle, about this.
There was, but nothing got done about it because they were already in their pockets.
Well, they were invited and they were like, "Well, sir, we're not shadow banning." Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now prove it.
No.
Exactly. That's the thing. Well, the problem with the congressional hearing is it's completely a lame duck. It's pointless because all you're doing is you're calling witnesses and then going like, "So, are you doing this crime, sir?" No.
So, we know for a fact that fucking Jack Dorsey fucking lied in a congressional hearing, which I believe is criminal, is it not?
Well, that is exactly it. Yes.
He needs to pay for his crimes.
It is illegal to lie to the federal government.
There must.
We have a term for it. It's called perjury.
I think Jack Dorsey should be seeing jail time, prison time over this. Things need to be done.
There is no reason why Jack Dorsey should not currently be under arrest.
He should be under arrest. After this came out, he lied to the congressional hearing, and now there needs to be a full-blown investigation into him and all of his colleagues.
Mm-hmm. And again, this does not, by the way, require for the person to be under oath. At any point, if you lie to the federal government or perjure yourself, that is a crime. Simple as.
He committed a crime. Make him pay.
Yep, this is pretty black and white. But the problem is, of course, just like with Hillary Clinton, these are rules for you and for me.
Not for us, yeah.
Yeah, but not for them.
They have so many laws that it would fill an entire warehouse. And the reason why they have those laws isn't because all those laws are needed. It's purely so that it's a catch-all. They can get you for something, because everybody, during the day, commits some sort of fucking crime. That's why there are so many goddamn laws. That way, no matter what you do, it's just a matter of, all right, it's time for you to go. And they can put you away for thousands of years. And they can, we're making an example out of you. So you get, 30 years, that'll teach you. There's no winning.
Absolutely. So, I'll read this to here. This was the GOP lawmaker saying, quote, "I want to read a few quotes about Twitter's practices, and I just want you to tell me if they're true or not," says Mike Doyle. He said, quote, "Social media is being rigged to censor conservatives. Is that true of Twitter?" Dorsey said, "No." "Are you censoring people?" Doyle asked. Dorsey said, "No." "Is Twitter shadow banning prominent Republicans?" Dorsey said, "No."
Dorsey lied, and he lied, and he lied. He needs to pay.
Yes. And we now have proven, we've proved it now. We have the data. He lied to Congress. He perjured himself. Not once, not twice, but as all good things go,
in threes. All good things come in threes. Oh, terrible.
Exactly. And just to point this out too, it is possible in certain circumstances of the sentencing of perjury being 10 years per count. So,
30 years, Jack. Come on, Jack. Get in the bars, Jack. Time for you to pay, Jack. Time for you to pay.
So, if there is any justice in the world, then somebody should be shaking the cells for the next 30 years or so.
The reason why we need to enforce laws like this and why he needs to be behind bars 30 years, because it needs to be an example. An example needs to be made out of Jack Dorsey for the rest of Silicon Valley. But the issue is the, actual powers that be going to actually, make the example they need to do? Probably not,
Yes.
because the worst part is they were already in bed with Jack Dorsey. They invited him there, and I bet they had fucking dinner afterwards. Like, it was more like probably a fucking dine and dash for him when he was probably, you know, at the hearing.
Yep. And I also want to comment something people are pointing out in chat. It is correct. It is only perjury if you can prove that they didn't know. Like, if they lied specifically, knowing that it was false, then it's perjury. And the thing is, okay, that's one of those things that's very difficult to prove, because you're going to like, okay, what did he know precisely? But again, the Twitter files has constant, like, we have the tweet from all right, here we go. I'll send that one to you again. That one. This is Yoel Roth, the head of Twitter Sentry, literally saying, I'd love research support on non-removal policy intervention, like disabling engagements and de-amplification visibility filtering. We got Jack on board with implementing this for civic integrity in the near term.
Jack, what are you doing, Jack? Jack needs to be in jail, chat. Put him in jail.
Like, Jack had claimed that Roth here was fucking lying his ass off, I guess. But the evidence is starting to mount rather rapidly at this point.
This is fucking bullshit.
Yep. No, I think this is actually a relatively slam dunk case right here. I don't actually think there is that much doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Fucking bullshit. Can't believe Jack did that.
Jack Dorsey was
actually no, I can't.
He was partaking in the censorship. He was actively taking part of it. He knew about it. He was talking to his employees about it.
Jack lied.
Yes, Jack lied.
He needs to pay. But the problem is he's not gonna fucking get in trouble. Like, what is he gonna do? Then I'm gonna slap him on the wrist for this. I will be glad to be wrong here. I would love to be wrong, because I'd love to see justice.
Because here's the thing too. So there are a lot of legal complications surrounding what exactly is going on here. That's one of the things. So let me see if I can find the one here. Kyle, meow at the camera erotically or something.
I'll get you to lose some subs, but all right. Meow. Like, oh, unsubbed. They're gone. Sadness.
Oh, Kyle's buying me some time as I'm looking for this. Listen, there's a lot of tweets, okay? I'm scrolling as fast as I can.
He's working on it. So, Chad, how's your day been? You've been behaving? Probably not. You probably are in trouble, and you probably need to be punished. Like Jack. Chat, Jack. Ah, they're basically the same amount of letters. Basically the same person.
I'll send this one to you here.
I bought time.
So this is referencing the first release of the Twitter files where they explained that Twitter had back-end things that governmental agencies could connect to. So a governmental agency or a governmental representative or somebody even from a political campaign could send a notice to Twitter and say, "Hey, could you censor this?" That's literally what it was. Like, they called them like what was it? Editing requests. But nothing, like, the governments do not send requests. When they're sending you the tax papers, that's not an ask.
Nope. It's not.
It's like, it's so fucking stupid. Oh, you know, the government, they asked nicely. But, okay. Moderation requests is what they called it right there, right? So that's what they were sending them. And it says here, examining the entire election enforcement Slack, we didn't see one reference to moderation requests from the Trump campaign, the Trump White House, or Republicans generally. We looked, they may exist, we were told they do, however they were absent here. So currently, it appears as if the Republicans, despite having had access to the same tools, simply didn't use them. Or maybe they were blessedly boomerish enough to not know what they were. Well, moderation request, what's that? Sometimes boomerism can be a strength, chat. Good.
Sometimes.
But this, of course, again, this shows us that all this, this was run from the outside sources as well. The Biden administration were sending in moderation requests. They were having things taken down. And with this system too, put in place by Twitter, do you think Jack Dorsey was somehow unaware? So like, oh, we set up a governmental portal which they can request us through censorship, Jack. Are you okay with that?
They're like, mein Führer does not like this post, yeah. Delete. Into the ovens with it. Very tragic.
Yes. And the question here then is legality, right? Because is this illegal? And if it is illegal, what kind of punishment could there possibly be coming from this? That's a complicated question. So the First Amendment, all of that shit, all of the American stupid laws, blah, 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 like this, the government shan't censor, etc. Well, technically, this wasn't censorship because it was a moderation request.
They're just moderating, and they're requesting moderation. Hey, I'm going to have to request you to moderate that post. It's a little bit problematic. And therefore, delete us. Oh, my goodness. What a world we live in. What a great world. What a wonderful world.
It's just a request, you know? The next time the IRS knocks on your door, fully armed, just consider it a request and see what happens, I guess.
I take it you're praised the fact that the IRS has, like, it's trying to train a standing army of its own. They bought, like, tons of fucking armored vehicles and machine guns. It's like, what are you doing?
Yes.
They're like, we're gonna kill we're gonna take what's ours. It's like, what?
We're gonna enforce our tax code, sir.
If you aren't willing to pay your taxes, we'll just kill you and take your money.
Yep. And if you're not going to pay, we're going to send the ATF to your house, and I hope you don't have pets.
They'll shoot your dog, even if your dog doesn't do anything, just because it looked at them funny. Like, listen, if it was a goddamn, what are those disgusting monstrosity dogs called that love to eat children?
I sent you a lovely meme that's deep from inside the ATF shooting range.
A cute and lovable puppy. Like, shoot it. See, the reason why they kill your dogs is to send a message, not to fuck with them. They don't do it because, you know, they what's the word? Because they make a mistake. It's intentional. It's because they can legally do it and there's no ramifications. If it was your kid and they could, they'd shoot it. But sadly, your kid's a person and not an it, like a dog. So you don't have dead babies. Bit true. Babies, pit bulls. Fuck pit bulls. Disgusting.
It wasn't just that they killed pets either. What was it? They crushed a dude's giant moth to death too.
What?
A dude had like a giant moth, some kind of exotic giant moth animal thing as a pet, and apparently the ATF, they put it down.
So there's like, okay, so let me get this straight, because I had a pet fucking orb weaver spider, and she was very beautiful. And they would just like open up the container, they'd like reach in and crush it, and then like close the container. Like, sorry,
and the ATF would leave.
What the fuck?
But as retarded and funny as this kind of is, the point is, when the government, and make no mistake, like a political campaign for one of the two parties in America is basically the government. And then an email from the presidential candidate of the Democrats, even if the Democrats are not currently owning the president, that is the fucking government, okay? And when the government asks you to do something, they're not asking. There is no such thing as a governmental request. It doesn't exist.
A governmental borrowing, if you will. We're just borrowing it. Actually, the way the government views things is it's their money, because my dad told me an interesting story when he like had an IRS fucking audit once, and they were like, the way they talk to you is it's not about like your money and looking at your taxes. It's like, where's our money? Like, that's their approach. It's their money. It was never your money. Everything you have is the government's. And they treat you like that. Like, even like property taxes. Like, the reason why property tax exists is because you can't actually own land. Like, they don't want you to own land. Are you kidding me? Property tax exists so they can take it from you.
Yes, you rent land from the government. Now, just be glad that there's not as much taxes on stuff like in Norway, because in Norway you don't own anything. You rent from the state. That's how our tax system functions.
You little socialist fuck. He's like,
basically. But to return to the legality of this. So, can anything be done? Well, Jack seems to have lied to Congress. Like, it seems difficult to argue against it at this point. So I don't see any reason why Jack shouldn't, at the very least, like, be in arrest right now. Just to be like, hey, Jack, we're going to put you up on trial for this because, well, you know. And he'll just nod his head like, yeah.
Okay.
There is no reason why the police shouldn't be looking into him at the moment. None whatsoever. At the very least, the investigation.
There should be an investigation, obviously, because in the United States, when the United States is a land of laws, or it's supposed to be, you are innocent until proven guilty. So what should be happening right now is there should be an investigation into Jack Dorsey and the things to confirm whether or not he did break the law, like truly. That's what should be happening right now. I don't think it's going to, though. Once it's confirmed, then he actually has to go to court and have a trial, and then chuck him behind bars.
I'll send you another article here from Fox News, the devil himself. But for people like Jim Baker, the Twitter lawyer who was fired after he was editing through the Twitter files for no reason, it's going to be very difficult to have any kind of legal measure against anyone who was employed at Twitter previously, because it's going to be very difficult to basically argue what they did, when, how they did it, how much they knew, and who was responsible. It's kind of the German soldier argument in a way. It's like, okay, did Joel Roth really censor stuff? Or did he censor stuff because he was told to do it? Was that his job, basically? Same for Jim Baker. Like, why was he looking through the Twitter files? What was his motives? It's very difficult to prove any of this. And it's basically going to be impossible to launch any kind of legal action against old Twitter. Like, if you were to sue Twitter today, you're suing Musk. You're not suing old Twitter, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the issue here. So in all due likelihood, all of these people will get off scot-free.
Yep, all the crimes they've committed and all the things we had to endure. All the content creators and all the speakers that leaned on our side of the fence had to endure the fucking censorship, and they had to endure the shadow banning. And what will they get? Will they get justice? No. They'll get nothing. The only consolation is the fact that they're just not doing it anymore. That's the consolation, and that's something, but I simply think that that's not good enough.
Yes. At the end of the day, in all due likelihood, the only win we are actually going to get out of this is that it might start a counter movement against this. Because it is always more difficult to censor when everyone knows you're doing it. And there's this also, again, this needs to be used by the Republican Party in the US. This needs to be their cudgel for the next decade plus. This should be the platform of every single Republican representative. Just, no, they censored you. I am going to chase them down, and I am going to nail their nuts to a wall. Simple as.
Mm-hmm. Actual justice. The people that did this need to pay to set an example to the rest.
And now, of course, they need to go to all of the other social media companies. They need to call in they need to call in Mark Zuckerberg again, sit him down in front of Congress, and this time just hold up the Twitter things in front of him, and then ask him, do you shadow ban? And then if he says no, confiscate every fucking server they own. Every last one. You've got enough cause at this point to do so, I would say.
Definitely some sort of investigation has to go on. Like, it could be simple. Like, it could be just an undercover op. Get a little agent there. Take a peek around.
Susan Wojcicki, too. Her service needs to be in custody. All of this stuff needs to be investigated thoroughly, because, again, I guarantee you, they will have done the exact same thing. There's no doubt about it. Facebook has done this. YouTube has done this. All the social media platforms has engaged in this behavior. And I pretty much am sure, too, they've been lying in court multiple times about it again as well.
Mm-hmm. Because the only way they can set this right is to give us actual justice.
Yep. Basically, all of these need to reach into their algorithm systems and just delete the algorithm file.
Yep.
That's it.
Anyone who posts a video on YouTube, anyone who makes a post on Tweet should just be as accessible as anyone else. True equality. And those who succeed will succeed purely on the merit of their posts and the merit of their content. A merit-based... Look at that. A little bit of a meritocracy. Nothing wrong with that. We can all get behind it.
And then maybe a couple social media executives need to watch the paint dry in their brand new cell for a few years. Who knows?
Yeah, they can learn. They can learn from their mistakes. And, you know, when the time comes up, maybe they'll have figured that out. But I do think that, you know, that hacker law, whatever the fuck, is if you hack stuff, you're not allowed to touch a computer again. I think if you do something like this, you're never allowed to touch a fucking social media corporation or any sort of networking platform ever again. That should be another law.
I don't know. We can compromise. We can either do that. We can give them a choice. You either do that, or you go to an Iranian prison for a few weeks.
I mean, death or, you know, reasonable reason. The option seems pretty clear to me.
1 lifetime penalty or 2 weeks in Iran. Like, I'll take the lifetime, thank you.
It's like, well, listen, if I go 2 weeks in Iran, those will be my last weeks on Earth. So, yeah, a little bit.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, we'll start going on to the super chats now, because I did want this to be a bit of a shorter one, and I think we've gone over most of it, because, again, in large parts, this is shit we already knew. Like, this, I bet you, not a single person in chat is going like, wow, this is a shocker. No, everyone's sitting there nodding along like, yep. No, that was more or less exactly what we all knew was going on. But, again, we have proof now, and that needs to be used. Like, it's the ball's in the Republicans' court now. Fucking run with it.
Here's the problem. So, the Republicans, because I lean right, and I've seen how this party behaves as I grow up, and I've listened to my dad told me, I've listened to what they say. They often get the ball in their court, and every time they do, they never do fucking anything with it because the goddamn rhinos. Goddamn race traitor. That's what they are. They're traitors. All they do is nothing because they work with the other side. Nothing will be done. Nothing will. The cycle continues.
Probably.
That's my black pill for the day. Like, that's the thing that I've noticed with the Republican Party is anytime they get anything over the Democrat Party, they're like, well, let's not take advantage of this in any way and infight a little bit more. It's like, oh, lovely. Fucking retards. Fucking terrible.
Tragically, that is perhaps the most likely outcome. Yeah, Black 1917 says, Quick and Hail Archchrist, our Lord and Savior. Breed Kibbs. Always breed Kibbs. Breed him on social media, if you will. They don't suppress you anymore for the moment. They might suppress you after that, though.
Yeah, that might be against the TOS. You never know.
Specifically in there, any breeding of Kibbs, instant suspension for 7 years.
Well, I mean, that's fair, all things considered.
Aaron says, the great game is still a game, Arch. That's true. We have justified us covering this because it is a part of wider gaming culture.
It is the big game. The final game, if you will.
John McKenna says, hey, Arch, I've enjoyed Terra Invicta and tried Kenshi. Any more recommendations? Insert mention of Kibbs here. Well, do we have... there's always I Am Bread from, like, the 1900s.
What's a game that's similar? He said Kenshi and what else that he liked?
Terra Invicta.
RimWorld. That one's pretty obvious, though.
He's played RimWorld. What's wrong with you? Everyone's played RimWorld. Well, everyone's played RimWorld.
Everyone except... Well, actually, no. I played it for like 30 minutes, and I was going, I'll play it again. And then they updated it, and the mods broke, and I was like, I guess not.
Like, RimWorld is basically like Skyrim. Everyone's licked that cake.
I've touched the cake, but I'm waiting for that fucking Tiberia mod to finally be fucking updated. I've been waiting forever.
You have. As for stuff that's out now, I mean, you'll probably enjoy Dwarf Fortress because that's going to take you a while to deal with, but it's going to need more mods before it truly shines. So there is that.
Yeah, the modding scene. So there's no rush to pick it up, but it's something you should put on your radar for sure. Wishlist it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. We have had some good games. Shadow Empire you might want to look into too. That one's more for the especially interested, or Songs of Six. So, hiccup. And
Peggy!
Songs of Six is really fucking cool. And
Actually, I haven't played it,
it's a Dwarf Fortress, but perhaps even more ambitious in a different direction. It's way more simmy, but it has pretty much just as many elements to it. Like, Songs of Six is great, and I love the hell out of it. And it's got a fully functional real-time combat system, too, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. There's also, if you're looking for sim and city building style games, you could check out the new well, it's not new. Anno 1800 is on Steam again, and with their season passes, one of the best Anno entries into the franchise.
Mm-hmm. I really need to... When it goes a little bit further along, I need to try and get the Songs of Six dev on, because his game is brutally undervalued. Like, it's got like 2,000 reviews total, which is nothing. Like, this game needs to be played by everyone. This needs to be the next RimWorld. It has to be. If it doesn't, then it'll be all Carl's fault.
How is it my fault?
Yes.
Wow. Rude.
Sandoom says, "Thank you, Kibbs, for that special moment with Hans when I informed him about Anno 1800 on Steam. It brought me great joy. Hope Hans is doing better."
God. So he keeps spamming this in my DM. So hey, we told Hans, because we're streaming Anno 1800 later today after this, but we got him to play a game with us called Anno 1800, and I convinced him to pick it up. I asked Fairman, okay? I was like, Fairman, if you buy the base game, can you play with the rest of us because we have the DLC? He told me yes. And so I told Hans to pick it up. And then Hans finds out, no, he can't. And then he has to buy all the DLC, so he's already mad. And then literally the next day, it comes out on Steam. And went, oops.
He was stuffed ketchup.
He was very upset, and he made me laugh, and I started crying and wheezing on stream because couldn't breathe.
Yep. Ketchup deserved it, though. Like, he listened to Kyle when he was saying, just buy it. And Ketchup's like, fine. And then he went on sale.
It's definitely his fault. Like, he should have,
He should have thought ahead, but he didn't.
He didn't?
Gunfox says, pedos should be used to test the new sun-eating catapult. Those commie heretics should be buried under a jail. Oh, that's cruel. Also, Arch, punish Kibbs for a few hours. Kibbs need to be beaten. A few hours? Well, maybe we can do some PvP in Anno. Bomb his base.
Yeah, but
why are you doing this? I don't know. It's an
side.
accident. It's like, listen, Kibbs, you can't prove that I intended to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be us, Barch and me, and then Artemis and Hans are going to be on Fairbear's team. So you can watch Fairbear have an aneurysm.
That might be funny too, yes. I enjoy watching him try to explain things.
Fairman tries to explain things. And what he's saying is normally like, yeah, no, it makes sense, but it's like, Fairman, you're doing it out of order. So it'll be great. There'll be much screaming at Fairman, which is justified.
Repanol says, I will also state that Brittney could play in the NBA. It's not a gendered sport, but hey, maybe she just isn't that good. Really? There's no... Wait, can you? Could a female play in the NBA, Carl? Answer me this. No.
Probably not, because biology normally says no. Males and females are too different. Probably not. I don't know, maybe. Listen, basketball is gay, and I don't really care about it. You're Googling it, aren't you?
Yep, women are allowed to play in the NBA. They're just not fucking good enough.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Biology.
Well, there you go.
Like, males and females can't compete. It's like when, trans...
Males and females can't compete.
When trans people get into fighting and they beat the shit out of women because, well, women literally can't fucking physically compete with that frame. Male frames are just bullshit. They're cheating. Am I being too based? Whoops. Tone it down.
I streamed for like a week prior to this. Not a single one of my streams were demonetized. Not a one when I was just by myself. Every one with Kyle, piss symbol of death.
Now hold on, that's false. Anytime Hans comes on and says the N-word, or Arch comes on and says the N-word, I get the red symbol of death. I lose my ad revenue. And I make less money than you, so I don't want to hear it.
No, I'm just giving you back what you were giving me. Shit goes around.
Yeah, but some of us don't have lots of money. Some of us are living on paycheck.
It rolls downhill.
I live off what YouTube gives me, and they hand me some peanuts. I'm like, that's good enough, I guess. That's good.
Gigatwin says, praise the Bridge God for a great day this Saturday. Yes, we made fun of the ATF and Joe Biden. It's been a glorious day. Kind of Fox 61, Arch, Kibbs need to be punished hard. Punish him without mercy. Gentleman said, what did you do today, Kyle?
I made fun of them a lot on the streams lately because they kind of deserved it.
So you deserve it.
They were being snarky, and so I started making fun of them. I make fun of my audience all the time. They like it. Then they get mad.
I would never make fun of you, chat. I'm better than him.
That's not true. And no, you're inferior to me because you're too weak. You simp for chat.
Dragon Master ArchCast says, hey, Arch just started on Rin's World. It's good so far, better than most stuff BL puts out these days. Oh, I can absolutely guarantee it. I used to be a massive fan of Black Library shit. I have so many Black Library books. I haven't bought a Black Library book in years, because the Horus Heresy just turned me off it in its entirety. It just got worse. Nah.
Yes. Gibbs feels vindicated. I told you it got worse, because I read ahead. I was like, Bart's just going to get really bad. And he's like, Kip, you're just being a hater. And then he reads it, and he's like, this is special.
Especially as they denounced Liber Cotica. I'm not going to do a video about that necessarily, but I do have an announcement video on the lore channel up in the near future. Logatin90 says, quote, I didn't know. Yes. That would literally have to be Jack Dorsey's defense when they bring up these tweets. So this is your head of trust and safety asking you to implement censorship, and he says you said yes. And Jack Dorsey's only actual defense is going to have to be to shrug and go,
Well, I don't know. I thought he was talking about going to McDonald's together. Like, we go to McDonald's every Tuesday. It's like, it was Wednesday. It's like, oh.
It would be a fun trial, if nothing else. Just Jack Dorsey is sitting there. He's got a tape recorder in front of him. Every time anybody asks him something, he just plays the tape. Like, well, what's the sentence?
Tipping me tongue. Tipping me tongue.
I invoke my Second Amendment rights. Isn't that it? That's it, right?
Second? Oh god, no. It's definitely not that. This is the 13th or something? I don't know.
That one. I don't even know. But that is the one.
Fifth,
like, I invoke my blah 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 rights.
I totally came up with that. I did not read what Justin Aria said. I plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth. There you go.
This just plays on loop anytime they ask him a question. He just presses the play button and then the rewind thing on the recorder.
Yep. Second Amendment. I invoke the fifth. There you go. Just play that continuously. Like, Bert, I invoke the Fifth Amendment. Beep. It's like, okay.
Listen.
But what about this one? Beep.
I like how Oreo figures it out and then chat just copies Oreo. Okay, I'm not guilty of copying. You're guilty of copying.
There you go. I believe the Second Amendment.
Boom, boom. Yeah, Barch, I played the second.
It'd be more effective, okay? It'd be more effective.
Was like the Matrix?
It'd be shorter, and he'd be arrested for worse things afterwards.
Jack Dorsey comes in like the Matrix wearing sunglasses and a trench coat. I believe the second opens his trench coat.
I mean, like, on the bright side, it would give all of the legal commentators something to talk about. They're all streaming the court. That happens, they go like, well, I did not see that coming.
He goes berserk. I mean, at this point, he's going down.
Your legal analysis, sir. Well, it's a bold move.
It's a bold move. Let's see how this plays out. Lots of banging noises.
Like aggressive legal strategy.
Aggressive might be an
lay out, Jim.
Oh my god, it's like a sports announcer. You got yourself too caught up on sports now, because Blood Bowl 3 is coming out, and you've been laughing at millionaires becoming poor.
I quite enjoy the World Cup this year. It's been pretty good. Like, there's something about watching a dude who gets paid $100 million a year to play football crying live on television that just tickles my pickle. It's kind of a rape fantasy of mine, I think. Yes, that's what it is.
Listen, rape fantasies are perfectly normal to have.
Yep. Especially when they involve football and Moroccans. Evil Potato says, this is off topic. Don't worry, we've beat you to it. But how true is my imagination of you guys? Arch being 6'4" man and Kibbs being 5'2" manlet. I'm thinking too highly of Kibbs. Definitely too highly. Kibbs is what most people would refer to as a sock's length. Yes.
A sock's length?
Yes, a midget. This is the more politically incorrect terminology.
I am not a midget.
I believe they prefer being called the people of short stature these days.
Wow.
Or dachshunds, if you wish. Sandoom says, yes, Arch, previous Twitter owners are morons because they sued to force Musk to buy Twitter, even though before that they didn't want him to buy. Yep. Because the stock were tanking and they thought this would be a good way to get out the door. We'll see how far they get, but... Joining says, card market is collapsing. Repo men busy after stimulus package. Listen. The fact that the US economy is collapsing is good because it leads us back to a time of far more self-initiative. You know, when everyone has to farm their own food, we'll have less social media stuff. Yeah.
Oh, God. The U.S. economy. I don't want to talk about that. It's a depressing thing because most of our team is, like, across the seas. And so watching the dollar lose purchase value is, like, just heart-wrenching. It's like, stop. Dollar, become more valuable. You're almost equivalent of a Brazilian real. Stop it. Stop it.
Lord Commissar Spartan says, I'd say it's time for them to all meet Mr. Chippy. Feet first.
Mr. Chip. Chippy. Chippy makes them squeal, though, if you go feet first.
It does. Black 1917 says, the incumbents and rhinos won't do anything, but now there's new blood that's running against them and winning, and they are doing something. This has been just as damaging for the traitors pretending to be on the right as it has been for the left. I hope so. I mean, this should be the platform of every single Republican candidate. There is no reason why it shouldn't be. There is literally no reason to not push this as hard as possible. But whether or not they are smart enough to do so, that is the big old question. Gunfolk says, Kibbs, you fucking furry muppet. Oh, cruel. How did you not know it's called the Fifth? You are a fucking Canadian furry. Prostrate yourself before chat.
Listen, I spend less and less... Like, if it wasn't for Arch or my, like, pops, I wouldn't even look at modern politics. Like, I've disconnected myself from looking at the news. I don't look at the news. I actively avoid it. I just look at what's coming out for gaming stuff, what I got to work on for writing lore, what am I going to do for this next, like, update for the channel. Like, that is all my focus is. I don't want to look at anything else, because I don't need that. Got to keep working. It's true.
Well, Kyle, have you considered being like me?
But that would require me to lower my intent. No, kidding. He's like,
you'd be more financially successful.
Listen, I'll go tell my dad to become an inventor of a robotics company, and then I can just, you know, mooch off him. But that ain't gonna work out so well. I think he'll say no.
As Lord Commissar Spartan says, I reiterate, they all need to meet Mr. Chippy feet first. Tronian says, all those FBI agents and not one of them thought to block the child abuse. I guess we know where law enforcement's priorities are. No, unironically. Unfucking ironically. Like, well, you know, well, we're very worried about this presidential election thing here, Mr. Jack Dorsey. Oh my god, the FBI, thank you. We've got a real child pornography problem here. Can you help us? That's not our jurisdiction.
Don't worry, I put somebody on the case. It's just one lady in a room by her fucking...
In a fucking basement somewhere.
Doesn't even have internet.
There's a chute next to her where printouts of Twitter pages just constantly fall out of it. Just...
Oh, it's like those old mail companies where there'd be like the little tubes and they put the thing in there like thump and it goes up into the next tube in the right area. Those are always kind of cool. Those are weird though.
She has to look at it on paper. She's got to use like her private phone if she wants to see it on the internet or something.
But there's no signal because she's in the basement. Yep. So she has to hold her phone above her head to get it to like connect. Oh, this is so jank. I love it.
At some point, she just gives up and sits in the corner playing Peggles.
Peagles. Wow. Big sad. But not Puggles, though.
No.
She's out of date with the times, I suppose.
It's like, but they have a man on it, so there you go. We're looking into it.
We're looking into it. That, you know that buzzword is like, we're looking into it. That is literally the buzzword I normally tell people if there's like an issue with something. Then I'm like, I can't deal with this right now. We'll look into it. It means we'll get to it when we get to it. Or for certain corporations, it means sure, whatever, go away.
Well, hey, look, France beat England in football. I'm liking this whole sports ball thing more and more.
Listen,
I don't like the English very much.
The French have been, good allies of the United States. Never did anything wrong, okay? Long-term history, so this is a good thing for humanity.
I think the most effective way to be a fan of football is to just hate both teams equally. It's working out really very well for me.
God, if you turn into a sports nut, I'm going to have to fucking find a way to swim over there and beat you.
Listen, England deserved it. Nicholas Quidistov says, everything that has been proven true is being revealed too late to matter. There's nothing that's going to be done to these people because that isn't the government's interest. Just my sad view. You know, tragically, you are probably correct. There is probably not a lot that can be done about many of these people. And more importantly, because here's the thing. If there was the political will, then something could be done. But there isn't. That is the big problem. But again, the thing is, of course, this is a long-term platform. This is something that should be used as a talking point for the next decade plus. There's nothing to say that this couldn't be brought back into relevance in another 3 or 4 years' time, maybe, when somebody needs an easy win. You know, okay, Trump became president on his platform of I'm going to throw Hillary Clinton in jail. Surely some other Republican could do the same with Jack Dorsey, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, but I would like
Vote for me. I'll put Jack Dorsey in a 4x4.
See, lock her up. Oh my god, I remember that. It's a shame nothing happened with that.
Yeah, Trump puts it out. Trump puts it out.
He did. He'll never be forgiven. We need to escalate.
Black917 says, correct. There are no rules in any sport in the US that prevents women from playing because it qualifies as gender discrimination, which is illegal. And yet, not a single woman is playing at the highest level. Weird. How about you, Kyle? You're a woman. Have you ever had any ambitions to play at top league sports?
No. I used to play sports, but see, playing sports is different than fucking watching them. Watching them is like being a little cuck. You're gay, and you shouldn't do that. Either you play them, or you don't watch. Don't be cringe. Cringe! Nobody wants to watch on the sidelines when you can play the game yourself.
There you go. Kyle once held ambitions to be the first woman in the NBA, but they were cruelly cut short.
Oh no, I wasn't fully paying attention.
No, you weren't, Kyle. Thank you for walking into that one.
Oh, sadness.
Now, chat, I would like, even though his dreams have been shattered, I would like for you all to encourage Kyle as he continues his quest to be the first professional female footballer.
Listen, it's not he, it's ma'am. It's ma'am. Oh, God
Black 1917 also says that the women's leagues, however, are actually illegal because it is gender discrimination. Okay, so the women's league are for women only. That's brilliant, though, because that literally means that you have one league breaking the rules, and it's the women one. Fantastic.
Well, at least there's something. And the women losing, is a good thing, right?
Glow the Dark says, Biden admin made history and no one is talking about it. The trade of Brittney Griner for Viktor Bout is the first and most famous WNBA trade in history. It even got the front page of the newspapers. Correct. It was one of the worst basketball trades in history too. But like, you were literally trading a couple $100 million player for one that's worth maybe a couple $100,000 a year. Like, Well, you know what they say: white people don't understand basketball, and Biden has proven this today. There's something to be said for racial stereotyping.
No, it is what it is.
It is what it is. White boys and Biden cannot jump. And finally, Zero says, Arch, you're poor this week. The good job.
Hey.
Yeah, I got myself Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I was thinking it needs an Arch commentary on 9th century Norway. I don't understand the context. But
it's the Viking game.
Assassin's Creed.
It's
like, as much as a Viking game is mildly interesting, and I do like the idea of the naval combat and like Black Flag. Like, Assassin's Creed has always been a bit of a boring setting for me. I remember playing the very first Assassin's Creed and derping around in it for a while and being like, well, this is kind of cool. And eventually arriving at a point where I'm like, what am I actually doing here?
Yeah.
Is there a point in what I'm doing?
The only Assassin's Creed storyline I really liked, and this might be kind of the milquetoast take, is Ezio Auditore. So Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, and then Revelations. And the other characters were kind of so-so. The pirate one was fun, but I really hated the fact that they copied The Witcher 3 with the newer Assassin's Creed, and they're just grindy-ass RPGs now. It's like, you gotta grind to get RPG equipment so you can go to the next zone. Like, the only thing I liked about Valhalla, or whatever the fuck it's called, I almost called it Valheim, is that you can, like, explore the, what do you call it, Hadrian's Wall, and, like, you can see Roman ruins, and as a Romaboo, I'm like, cool, this is neat. But after that, like, after waddling around for a few hours, I got bored.
Yeah, I feel like Assassin's Creed has lost the plot quite a while ago. It's like, we've got Assassin's Creed Vikings, we've got Assassin's Creed Greeks. I'm like, okay.
Oh, the Greek one. See, I would have really liked that one a lot, because I love Greek architecture and structures. But the biggest problem is, fuck, it's so grindy to do anything. You gotta grind, and then there's microtransactions to skip the grind. Like, what the fuck?
Well, of course.
What? This is a single-player game. Why would I want microtransactions to skip the game? But then you play it and you're like, I see why.
It was a single-player game, kind of.
It gets very grindy. Oh, man. Sadness.
You know, sadness is surely someone else's strength, Carl. Just take solace in that. And finally, Shunkatsu says, hi to Anti-Vax, ANCAP, Cat Trap, and my sister. Either Carl's his sister or somebody else's.
I hope somebody else. Otherwise, I've failed biology class, and everything's been backwards my whole life.
Well, there you go. Right, we'll wrap it up there, and we've almost done it in time, too. Went a little bit longer than I thought it would, but that's fine. We had fun talking about Twitter, which is always good.
Twitter. Hey, Twitter's actually useful now. Actually joining it is actually not too bad, because, you know, it is a little cesspity, but, you know, a lot of the woke elements kind of evaporated, at least on my feed.
Yeah, same. I quite enjoy Twitter now. It's lovely.
Yeah.
And I get to talk about the World Cup there, which is also pretty funny.
That's true. I keep seeing you post that, and I'm going to start lashing out at you and your tweets if you keep that up.
I don't think so.
I think I will.
Then I'll have to start sending you footballs.
You will pay.
Until next time, chat, thank you all very much for watching, and I hope we will see you all again soon. We are going to head over to Kyle's stream in not too long. I'm probably going to have a quick snack first. That'll be in 15-20 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
Do check out Dev's interview that he just did with the kid who stormed the Video Game Awards too, by the way. And I see a horse in chat there too, so you are spoiled for choice right now. You've got Kyle and me, you've got the Dev interview to watch, or you can watch Tomoe pretend to be a dragon in a video game.
Yeah. Pretend? Oh, now she's a dragon instead of a horse? Criminy, you're scaly now, Toodles?
Yeah.
Gonna have to update her art to have scales on it.
Far Cry Blood Dragon, I believe, which is basically that.
Oh, Blood Dragon. I never played that one, but people always tell me that's actually a pretty good one.
Good for you. Right. Didn't I do my outro? I keep forgetting if I do my outro. I probably do my outro.
Do your outro. Do it. Go on.
Good night.
That's it?